even, people who believe that there is some meaning because everything is organized by somebody, or our universe is organized, so to speak. It's under control of some force, some higher force, right? Even if they believe in such a thing, then I can say, yeah, but maybe that such thing, the higher force, has some meaning in what this force is doing. But it's not our meaning. We do not experience that. We cannot say that it is our meaning. So for us, it does not exist.
Okay. All right. Here with Lev Levitin. Professor, thank you so much for making the time today. I really appreciate it. And now you're a busy man.
Thank you.
We had a lovely chat yesterday in the coffee shop, and I got to ask you a few questions about your impression about the current state of affairs, technology, and also about some deeper philosophical questions about your expertise, which is information physics and the connection between quantum computing, quantum information, and regular information, and how we actually talk about these things. So today I wanted to maybe expand a little bit because we ran out of time yesterday, and to see if it's possible to dive a little deeper into these ideas.
Yeah.
Mind you that even though I would love to get technical, usually for the audience it's easier to maybe also, phrase things in ways that are a little more, not pop culture, but they're a little bit more broad, so people can also connect to what is being said. But I wouldn't hold back any punches if you feel that you need to get as technical as you need to get, because you'll be surprised that on the other end of this, how many people are actually interested in the specifics of these kind of things. There's actually a very big audience. So this leaves us with a very ripe ground to have a very fun conversation. And so yeah, let's kick it off with something simple. What is the meaning of life?
Well, it's an interesting question because so many people ask it and try to formulate their opinion about that. But look, what is the meaning of the word meaning? For example, you take a tea can and you switch off it to electrical, you put it on an oven, if it is not, so you try to boil water in there. What is the meaning of these actions?
You're asking me?
What the meaning of that I would like to prepare tea. That's why I'm doing all that, right? So look, it looks like for any possible action, for any possible, type of behavior, the meaning of that is outside of that behavior as it is. The meaning is beyond that.
But where is it? Where is it then? Where is the...
In the example that I said, the meaning is to have tea, to drink, right? So the meaning. So you understand it is completely beyond the action that you are doing right now, right?
So would you say that the meaning is in the observer?
The meaning is what I'm trying to say, that the meaning of actions, usually, of any type of action, of any behavior, the meaning is outside. It is beyond the actions themselves.
Okay.
What is the meaning, for example, for you to earn money? Not because money, not in the one itself. It's the meaning is your future use of this money.
Right.
The future things that you can buy and you can enjoy having this money, right?
Right.
So the meaning is, as usual, the word meaning is used to indicate what is the goal of these actions, which is the final goal is outside of these actions, beyond them.
Right.
Right? But when we talk about life, it is not so. because we are not looking, maybe very religious people who want to go to the paradise, they are looking for a meaning beyond their life, maybe. But all the other people, they are not looking for something that will come after they die, right? Mostly. The meaning of that life is inside of the life itself. There is no other meaning. So that life is different from all other matters, all other types of behavior or whatever, because it doesn't have its meaning outside of itself. The meaning of life is only in the process of that life itself.
But couldn't you, and please forgive my eagerness, because I will jump in as you talk, because this excites me, and I might cut you off at some point, so apology in advance. But could the same be said, using the same logic that you just employed, that the meaning of matter is in the matter itself? Or you feel that it's not the same?
The meaning of what?
Of matter, physical matter. You can say, well, it's in the matter. Yeah, couldn't you say the same about physical matter?
I don't think the physical matter has a meaning itself, that the word meaning is applicable.
So that,
which is given by us. The meaning is our mind, right?
So is the deeper point that the meaning is always in the observer, and then any form of life is the type of an observer, and because of that, right? So until we figure out or have any theoretical framework of what the observer is, then we can potentially start formulating relevant and meaningful questions about what meaning actually is, because we will understand what is it like to something that we understand anything about. But at the moment, we don't know what the observer is of, and therefore asking about the meaning that it is kind of it's almost like a moot point. It's not really a question you can ask. And is that give or take what you're saying?
And it depends how broadly define what is the meaning of the word meaning, right? If you define it in that sense, as we apply to any our other actions, what is most, at least, that then when the meaning is outside, it is beyond your immediate actions. You do something, you act somehow, but the meaning is outside. You fill out a can of water in order to prepare tea, but the meaning is to preparing tea, and the tea is the tea is already, when you enjoy the tea, it is outside of the substance. It will come later, for example. And when you earn money, the meaning is not in earning money itself. It's the meaning in which use you will, how you put this money to use in the future, and so on. But because for the life we do not have, except this very religious people, we do not have a goal outside of the life itself
that we know of.
We have a goal to go to paradise and all that, or to say 72 virgins like the Muslims and so on. We do not have a goal like that, then we can say that there is no such thing as meaning of life in that sense of the word meaning.
So basically, you're saying that the meaning is essentially the focus on experience itself, almost like a Buddha kind of insight, which is that the meaning is exactly what it is for you right now, in the moment, to be you, to go through what you're going through, and you can even take it to the broadest conclusion, which is that this thing that it's like to be like you right now is still part of existence in some form, and therefore you have almost an obligation to fully focus on that experience. That is the meaning, because nothing else is having this exact moment in this exact way, just like you.
Yeah, absolutely. But that would mean that you expand the meaning of the word meaning. You put it in the broader context. It's not necessarily your final goal that you are trying to achieve, acting at this moment, right? Which is outside of your act. It is not like that. Then you can extend, so to speak, the meaning of the word meaning, including that the meaning can be just what you experience right now. Okay? And because you experience right now life and all aspects of your life and so on, so you can say, in that sense, the meaning of the life is in your life itself. There is no other meaning than just to go through your life, to experience your life.
And you're saying basically that when people ask the question, what is the meaning of life? What they really asking is, what is life for? Like a utility. What is the utility function of life? And that you're saying that's the wrong question, because that's too broad of a term to define the reason for life in general, because we have no idea. And therefore, the only thing we can say with any amount of certainty, or even, any amount of lack of category mistake, is that all we know is that what this is right now, and that's the only thing we can attach the label meaning to. But let me play the contrarian for just a moment. In science, and the harder the science, the more that's the case. Teleology is almost a dirty word, right? So like attributing a goal to the universe or a goal to life is like a no-go thing. It's like, what are you even talking? So my contrarian point is it not the case that we have equally nothing to say either way? And if that's the case, why is it a dirty thing? Because we don't know that it doesn't have a goal. We don't know that, right? We don't know that life doesn't have an actual goal. We don't know the universe doesn't have like a larger structure. We have no idea. But it's almost like in science, there was a decision that was made one day to say, you know what? We don't know, but we're gonna err on the side of that it has no reason. But we're gonna say it with such confidence that we're gonna try and squash the other position entirely. Is that not true?
The point is that even if somebody goes, or like that, has sees some meaning in our life, right? This meaning is not our meaning, because we do not experience that.
I see.
Even people who believe that there is some meaning because everything is organized by somebody, or our universe is organized, so to speak. It's under control of some force, some higher force, right? Even if they believe in such a thing, then I can say, yeah, but maybe that such thing, the higher force, has some meaning in what this force is doing. But it's not our meaning. We do not experience that. We cannot say that it is our meaning. So for us, it does not exist.
That is the most satisfying answer I have ever heard about this subject, because it is so true. Because even if there is this higher meaning, unless we get to experience it in real time and see it from a bird's eye view or God's eye view, it's meaningless to us.
Absolutely.
That is so brilliant. It's not a great answer.
Or you can, of course, people who can be impressed by other people, convinced by other people, they can believe into the meaning of their life, which is told to him by a priest, for example. Yeah, the priest can explain that person that the meaning of your life is this and that. And if they are so impressed by that, they can start believing that indeed this is the meaning. But it is just their impression, so to speak, which is outside of them.
So would you be comfortable defining meaning as the story we attach to the immediate felt experience of the moment? And when I say story, I don't necessarily mean it's wrong. I'm just saying that this is just happening right now. But I have this entire machinery happening of ideas, informational patterns, and even my genes are telling a story about what is plausible and implausible about the three-dimensional space that I'm in, because that's what genes coding for, is a lot of functionalities in three-dimensional space, right? So like all of this stuff is just basically a very robust impression of like a behind-the-scenes statistical analysis of what is more or less plausible. And on top of that, I also have this like steaming conscious awareness of all these ideas, and together they thread this story that tells that's my meaning of what's going on. And it can be from the smallest things and most mundane things, like, somebody said something to me and I took it as offensive and somebody else took it as a compliment. Same phrase, they just had a completely different impression of what we said. Cool, you can take it to the more concrete things, which is that, saying things like, we live in a universe that doesn't care about that. It's just a mechanistic universe. Or we live in a universe that is whimsical and filled with magic and God. All of these things, the extent to which they are accepted as true, can we say that is the meaning for each and every one individual?
The point is that in a number of cases, of course, people can say, an individual can say, the meaning of my life is that doing science, yeah? Devoted researcher who is trying to find new things in science, to make discoveries, that this is the meaning of his life, he believes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, then it means that he understands the word meaning in a broader sense than usual. Because, because then we come to that more general definition that the meaning of life is in the process of life itself. Because what, his definition of the meaning is just a part of the process of his life. And he selects this part because this is probably the most important for him, subjectively.
It's the only one that he can be aware of, because that's the one that he's aware of.
Right.
So the thing cannot happen any other way, because that's how it happens. And therefore, this is the only thing they can take as the meaning, that that's the only thing that occurs. But that sounds a little bit pathological, right? It's almost like it is what it is, basically, what we're saying.
For example, just recently I looked at the biography of Lenin, Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, the leader of the Russian Revolution, October Revolution in Russia, and the author said that the meaning of all his life was revolution.
Interesting.
I think that, all his life was he basically, he almost did not have any other life in his life, any other private life, Everything was devoted to prepare revolution, to get prepared to that, to make it possible and to implement that. And I believe this is indeed true, because you understand, he may have a sort of dreams about what would happen, what kind of society he's going to create, and so on. But it is very interesting to look at what he wrote in some of these papers, such as the paper State and Revolution, right? This paper declares that actually Marx and Engels and all those guys, the socialists of the 19th century, they believed that the one of the goals of revolution is to diminish the role of the state, and the state will disappear. The concept of state will disappear. It will be a sort of a society without government, without state, as it is, right?
Oh,
And Lenin actually was joined this opinion. He said about that, he said that indeed this is what they have in mind, that the role of the state, of the government, will become less and less important. It will be self-organized society, so to speak, and the role of the state will become very little, like maybe like just a conductor in the orchestra, right? Something like that, very mild, and like the conductor, and then will disappear completely. The paradox is that what he created is a system of very strong and despotic government. It's in a complete contradiction to his ideal, so to speak. You understand?
running the risk of going from the meaning of life to political observation. But I do want to ask: do you have any ideas what actually in a system like that what actually goes wrong? Because we can't just say, well, every time you aim for distribution of resources and power, it undoubtedly because of that it goes wrong and it just becomes the craziness that the Soviet Union was. There has to be a mechanism by which it goes wrong. Do you have any ideas of what is actually going off there, or you never thought about?
No, certainly I thought about that. It is a very deep question, But I must tell you that, it is very difficult to find out what was the origin of the way in which human history developed. Well, important thing, I believe, is that, as I say, that our origin, we are descendants, so to speak, of a wrong species of monkey, or apes, better to say, wrong species, apes, right?
They actually recently discovered, I don't know enough about the research, but they recently discovered that actually we were technically monkeys. But let's continue.
Yeah, the point is that, there are two species of monkeys closest to humans. The difference is only 1.5% of genomes. That's the difference between us and the monkey, these two types. They are closer. One is chimpanzee, right? And another is bonobo. It is called bonobo.
Yeah, it's only polyamorous people.
The bonobo lives in Kenya, this is the eastern part of Africa, right? And the chimpanzee mostly in Tanzania, which is no, just opposite. Kenya is the western part, and Tanzania is the eastern part, right? So the conditions, natural conditions are different and so on. But what is important, the chimpanzee, they when they fight each other, and they fight each other mostly, of course, males, but they fight for resources, for dominance, for females, and all that, right? They often kill each other, and this is kind of a normal that they kill each other. Now, bonobo, they also fight, right? They fight. And the females, actually, they even kind of convince them to fight, because this way they decide whom to choose, you understand? They have a sort of matriarchate, there.
Yeah, I thought bonobos are basically what the females do is every time the male, hold on, I think there's, I thought that bonobos, every time the males are getting a little bit too out of control, they actually jump on the males and have sex with them, and then they calm down. I thought that's the whole point of the bonobos, that's why they're controlled by the females more than the male. Is that not true?
Sexual, this is correct, and they are very free, and there is no uh, jealousy about and so on, right? But what is important, this is one of the researchers who observed them for a number of years, observed hundreds of them, and their behavior said there was no single case when the bonobo would kill another bonobo. Not a single case, you see, which is very remarkable.
It is, and because chimps kill each other all the time.
Exactly. That's the difference between these two species. They are equally close to us.
And I actually think that all of in the primate kingdom, it's unheard of.
Killing each other, we are much closer to chimpanzee than to bonobo. You understand?
Should have been more bonobo-like.
By the way, this biological taboo of killing each other exists for majority of the species of mammals, right? The majority, there is a taboo.
Killing each other, yeah. Wait.
Kill each other. You can kill other animals, but
wait, hold on. Is that true? I thought all of primates kill each other all the time. That's not true at all.
No, even carnivores like wolves and so on, they do not kill each other. They can fight very strongly, but at the moment, one of the sides said, "Okay, I can
surrender.
fight anymore." How concede how to say.
Yeah, I surrender. I concede. Yeah.
That guy let him go. He didn't try to kill him. Didn't try to to persecute him and so on, like that. And this is for the most species. Unfortunately, just imagine what would be the history of mankind. How different it would be if we would be descendants of animals which would have a biological taboo for killing individuals of their own species. No wars, you can't kill. Like, for example, in humankind, in the majority, exists a biological taboo for cannibalism. You cannot eat each other. You feel such a repulsion to eating each other, right? Those who did not have this taboo, they just died out already, right? They do not exist anymore, except in some jungles, I don't know. You see, anyway, they did not develop, okay? So there is such a biological taboo, at least for that. Now imagine if there were such a biological taboo of killing each other. You cannot kill a human, The whole history would be completely different.
So applying this to, it doesn't have to be necessarily Leninism or any really socialist idea, but ideology that never works out in general. Can we then generalize what you just said to apply to this and say, what goes wrong is that the primal instincts of our genes constantly combat the higher noble ideas we have about what kind of behavior systems we should implement, and they're always in conflict. And because we have like primal instincts to kill each other and other negative tendencies, no matter how beautiful the picture we try to paint, idealistically, it will always run into the wall of our genetic predisposition to do things a certain way. And if we can find an ideology that caters a little bit more to our needs and then doesn't suppress them, we can potentially maybe find an epigenetic higher emergent system, which is cultural, that can match also the type of creature that we are. Would that be a good way to generalize it?
I would say that indeed there is a contradiction between and later, so to speak, ideas invented by the humankind, like idea of um, rule of law and or freedom and equality and all this stuff, right? All that. There is a contradiction between them and some of our inherited instincts. Well, certainly there is a contradiction. Okay, so I think it is hard to predict what would be the final result of it. Right now we see that so much human genius was used in order to invent better ways to kill each other. So that science and art to kill each other is so developed that I'm not sure what would be the final destiny of humankind. Would it just kill itself, demolish itself, or we would develop to a higher level, and this higher level certainly would imply that we are not killing each other anymore, right? I think that we are close to sort of a bifurcation point, right? Like a fork, we are very close, and I believe that that might be decided in a matter of a few decades only, like, I don't know, 30, 40 years, something like that. The situation now is very unstable, pretty unstable, and would be hard to predict which way it will go. The point that any system, when it develops, it goes through the sequence of what is called in physics phase transitions.
Right.
In physics, when the qualitative properties of the system changes, right? For example, okay, there is some for a physical system. There is a physical quantity that changes continuously. For example, temperature. The temperature, suppose that you observe this continuous change of such a quality, like a temperature. Then suppose you start to flow temperatures and water is in the form of ice, solid body. Then temperature increases very little, but when it crosses a certain value, it turns out that it is not a solid body, it's a liquid already, liquid water. Then it increases more and more. And to some point, it becomes a vapor, right? A gas. Right? It's not a liquid anymore. So you have these qualitative changes, right? In spite of the fact that what causes these qualitative changes, namely the change of the temperature, the increase of temperature, is continuous, right? It's absolutely continuous. There is no jumps in that. You have jumps in the qualitative state, but not in the quantitative characteristic. One society also goes through a set of phase transitions. In any developing system, this is a rule that it should be this way. And in physics, we know that this is a rule, and it is called phase transitions. In sociology, we do not have such strong laws and strong rules. We cannot predict what would happen, right? As we can do it in physics. In physics, that if you increase temperature so and so, that would happen. Or if you change the magnetic field, it would happen. If you change this and so on. but not in social sciences. But the nature of these changes, yes, this thing wouldn't be with physical bodies, right? Or would it be with collective human society? So all kind of these revolutions and changes, it looked like sudden, all of a sudden it came and it changed radically the type of the society, right? In fact, they are just natural phenomena, like in all the nature, which is called phase transition. And so we don't have to, how to say, to be amazed if it happens, because it's quite a natural thing, right? It should happen this way.
Our phase transition, by the way, phase transition in physics, they're always considered to be by nature unstable, because the human phase transition seems to also come accompanied with like an unbalanced turmoil of something in the system.
But the same in with physical bodies. Look at the boiling water. You know how it starts boiling. You know it becomes unstable. You see some small bubbles in that, and all that. It becomes. It was, for example, clear, transparent, right? And it's not transparent anymore, and things like that.
But the boiling of water, just to linger on that point for 1 second, the boiling of the water, yes, it is a phase transition between water to now potential gas.
Right.
But it is because the system becomes chaotic. The technical term chaotic, so it's unpredictable in principle. However, when you have a phase transition to an ice cube, you don't have that. You don't have this, because it's actually more predictable, right? So it's not necessarily that the phase transition is associated with the chaos, is that particular phase transition might lead to chaotic. Would that be more accurate?
It is, the transition from ice to water for a human observer looks like a quiet process. But in fact, on the molecular level, it is not so. And so comfortable, because they were in order, in the crystallic order, very stacked, each one has its own place and so on. And all of a sudden it all starts, the connections between become destroyed, they start chaotically moving. It is a big deal,
It's like now, and now I see how it's straightforward. Yeah, because basically every time you move to a higher energy state, you have a phase transition to a higher energy state. It always is accompanied by some kind of a chaotic element, basically.
Yeah. That
interesting. And so you believe that that's what we're going through right now?
I believe that we are close, right? Close to that one. And let's put it this way. What would save humanity? Maybe there is nothing else to believe in, right? First of all, I must say that artificial intelligence, what I have in mind, has almost nothing to do with what they call AI now, right? This large linguistic models and all that, this is not that. If you think about the intelligence, the nature of intelligence, it's an interesting point. Where actually the intelligence of human being come? Where is it from? Is it in our genes? The answer is no. We have such a limited number of genes, only about 20,000. 20,000 genes, not so much, and even the variety of protein that they can produce, it's a little bit higher, because the proteins, they then experience certain evolutions themselves after the protein produced by reading a gene. But even the number of proteins is not so large, maybe hundreds of thousands, but hundreds of thousands, but not no more. So our intelligence of our brain is not hidden in our trivial material, in our chromosomes or DNA and so on. No, it doesn't exist there. This intelligence develops with the development of our brain during that period in mother's milk, during that period it develops. And it develops mostly with as a random process, random connections between neurons. The connectivity of human brain is so high that it is not achievable by our modern computers or any systems like that. Any neuron is connected to about 1,000 other neurons in a sort of a very complicated network.
Like billions of connections in like a square inch or something like that, right?
Sorry?
It's something like billions of connections in a square inch or something like that.
Yeah, a lot of, that. So the number of connections is by orders of magnitude higher than the number of neurons themselves, number of the elements. And that is what makes it so complicated. The complexity of the brain is mostly the complexity of the connectivity, of the connection between them. And because it's so many connections and so on, it is very paradoxical. But recently I've seen in one of the papers, it happened that paper, I would never come to see it because it's in physiology of neural system, right? But it was said to me because they referred one of my papers that was sent to me because of, So the number of operations that a human brain produces, say every second, was 1.2 times 10 to the power 21, something like that, right? And this number is orders of magnitude higher than the number of operations that the best computing system that exists, even connected with other, even with all these clouds and so on, can produce. I would say about like 5 orders of magnitude higher, right? And that's what makes our brain intelligent. This is that the complexity of the system, this interconnectivity of the system, that which is not actually in our genes. Our genes only guarantee a certain macrostructure of that. This part should be here, this part should be here, but they do not tell us anything about the genes. They do not tell about how these interconnections will be implemented, right? This is a matter of chance, probabilistic actually, right? And that's why the brains of people are so different.
What can I ask a clarifying question?
And their intelligence, as you know, and this is not just by chance, because this randomness of the process cannot guarantee uniform length of intelligence. Yes,
but something binds it as a system, right? So it's not just randomness; it's following some kind of a trajectory that binds and makes it into a unified system, the brain. Because if it's just chaos, sure, you can have things like Boltzmann brain, in which, instance of a person appear out of existence with all the memories, disappears a picosecond later, and it would not be wiser. But let's pretend we're not. Let's assume we're not Boltzmann brain. What is it, this binding principle then? If it's not the genes, if the genes code for creating the brain this way, or are you saying that the genes code for the structure of the brain, but then from the moment that the brain is created, right?
That say, optical analyzers is here, the analyzer for sounds is here, the cortex is here, like that, the macrostructure. But we do not decide about the microstructure of the connections, how they connected to each other, the neurons, right?
Right.
This is a matter of a probabilistic process, right? A matter of chance here. But if you have many random events, then you can come to a sort of a new order, lack of random. You understand that if you have many random events.
Yes. So it's basically, it sounds similar to the anthropic argument for the existence of the physical constants to be what they are, because if there's infinite number of universes, then undoubtedly some of them will have the properties that our universe has, and therefore that's
what we're talking about. It's an electric question by itself that I'm afraid that would lead us to a different area.
No, but there is. I'm not trying to depart point. I'm saying that it sounds, what you're saying is that the argument is very similar, and it's relevant to what I want to ask you. So basically, you're saying that if you run randomness forever, eventually you're going to have some non-random pockets in it, because they just arise out of randomness, right? So it is the anthropic argument. The reason I'm pressing in this direction is because when I look at the trajectory of what's going on, and I'm trying to maybe create extrapolation of what the next step of that thing would be. So what I see is that you have some complexity within the genetic structure. Then you have it gives rise to a higher complexity that allows for something like the human brain to evolve. Then the human brain allows for what we call culture, because most of the information required to build large things like spaceships and iPhones and things like that require culture. You can't just, one person can never do this. So one brain can't do it. So you need the collaboration between little brains, which is what culture is, and that information is inculcated in culture. So if I had to extrapolate this idea forward, it seems that the integration in the real-time application of these structures as a unit, as a unified thing, is what is required to go to whatever the next level is. And in that sense, it seems to me like computation as we know it now on Earth, including all the gadgets that are slowly being built about integration of computation in the brain, this seems like the tool that will allow us to literally connect and to be a unified system that moves and error correct much faster than doing culture, because it would have like the direct correspondence, brain to brain kind of correspondence, right? Neuralink or whatever. And then it seems that then we can start truly acting as a planetary unit. And then we can slowly take that, and then it keeps going. So it just feels like that's what, if I have to guess what is the operative to all of these levels, it is information. Information is literally evolving from the beginning of time. It is the only thing that is going through an evolution. It tries and checks every possible way, and then only the ones that work, like it tries certain atomic connections, tries, doesn't work, continue, works. Okay, then makes chemistry, makes biology, makes brains, makes culture, makes computers. They just keep going like this, it seems. And that is information, right?
Right. When I talk to people, there are many people especially humanitarians. The scientists have a different opinion, but humanitarians, they say, well, artificial intelligence never can exceed the intelligence potential of your brain, because no system can create a more intelligent system than it is, like that. I said, well, it is kind of very interesting what you are saying. So what you are saying that humans cannot produce children which are more intelligent than the parents. It is so obvious that it is true.
Yeah, of course.
Say, oh, yeah, but this is goes without our thinking about that. We do not apply our intelligence to produce children. I said, that's the reason why it is. Without intelligence, we can't produce more intelligent beings. But the intelligence spoils everything, and we can.
It's really funny. It's very funny how people reason, which is, by the way, the most myopic and anthropocentric point to kind of say, while we're trying to make something better, to say we're incapable of make something better. Like, so I know that. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that I know you're gonna have to go soon, so maybe just to ask you a couple of questions, just about the. It sounds like you in your career, you had to do a lot of this jumping around between the very large picture to how it's applicable, and then go back to what it means about the big picture, and then go back to how it's applicable. And this jumping around made you especially suited to maybe weigh in a little bit on what is the next 10 years might look like. Now, of course, I know you don't have a way to know that. I understand that, but it's just a fun thought experiment. You told me yesterday that you don't believe that what we call AI now is what true AI is, but I guess we can distinguish them by saying AGI, and AI, right? And it's clear to me AGI is a very different thing than AI. It's kind of like a person, really. What do you think about the idea? I don't know if I told you this before, but I have a strong intuition that the thing that we will discover as we go is that actually we are it. We are that AGI. We're thinking of it, just that these facets that we're building around ourselves, and what we call now large language model and all this stuff is just extensions of us. The operative central unit will always be what we are, or think like us, and it will basically build external shells that are more and more technologically capable, and it will be more and more integrated into the physical unit so it can operate these fluids faster. And what do you think about that idea? Does that seem plausible? Or there are fundamental reasons as to why you think that what I just said is complete nonsense?
It's one possible way of development and difficult to predict. But what I'm trying to say is a little bit different thing, and let me explain. So what I'm trying to say is that our intelligence emerges spontaneously in our brain, in the brain of an embryo, during the time he spends in the mother's womb, right? The intelligence develops spontaneously. You see, it is not.
Yeah, but wait, hold on. Sorry, I'm cutting you off. No, but I gotta stop you for 1 second. It's spontaneous. First of all, when I hear a scientist saying spontaneous, it usually means to me that we just don't know, right? But also, it's reliable. If it would happen one, then I would say, okay. But because it happened every single time, that means that there's something specific that has happened that causing it to be allowed. Right.
Yes. And it should be some general quality that guarantees that.
Yes.
And every except pathological cases, every human brain is intelligent enough, even when the most stupid, you know, they can speak. I don't. You see?
Yeah, there's a lot of jokes here. Yes.
Yeah, you know. So that means that there is general qualitative factor, which guarantees that. This qualitative factor that I say is the complexity of the
Yes.
system.
You think that's what it is?
Yes. Complexity, this high level of connectivity, which provides a very high level of information, information exchange between the neurons.
Mm.
Such a high level that we still have a few orders of magnitude to come to that with our artificial. Look, our artificial systems, they are so better than our brain in a sense, the frequency, the working frequency of our brain is about 10 hertz or, a few tens, maximum few tens of hertz, while every laptop, your computer works on gigahertz, It's 9 orders of magnitude. It's unbelievable. You understand? So, in spite of that, it is much less in its capacities than the human brain. Why? Because of that level of complexity. Okay? Complexity itself makes it possible, that the complexity of the system. And what I'm trying to say, look, now I say something, how to say, theoretical, maybe, yeah, that people would never produce an intelligent system which has the abilities of human brain or higher than the human brain. Will never produce it themselves just by, we have a plan, let's connect this one to that one, this wire to that wire, and so on. They would never be able to do this. But this quality of being intelligent will appear spontaneously when the complexity of our artificial systems will reach a certain level.
Well, we already see it with ChatGPT, albeit a very specific task. But even there, all it's doing is predicting the next word, and what we see is seemingly very intelligent thing that can answer a very complex question.
It's still a very primitive thing.
Sure, of course, but it's a hint, and the fact that all it's doing is predicting the next word, and because the amount of data that it trains on it's so enormous, complexity, right? By the way, is complexity from a technical standpoint just define the number of possible connections? How do you define complexity?
One of the measures. It's one of the measures.
Okay.
Number of connections. And also, of course, the rate of exchange and a number of components, number of different things. It is hard to define because if we were able to define exactly what it is, we would be able to build such a system.
Yeah, you would have a theoretical framework. I would say it still doesn't explain consciousness, because consciousness seems to the fact that there's anything that it seems like to be like us at all. So that actually leads me to lean more towards the panpsychist direction or idealistic. Yeah, because I think it seems to me that it has to be fundamental to be plausible to be explained. But whatever the constituents out of which it's made, at its core, it's not what we think it is. Like, it's not like how we feel to be consciousness, but it has a fundamental building block, so to speak. It has to have. Otherwise, how does it just all of a sudden happen? Otherwise, it's just magic, right? But the intelligence part is very interesting. What you're saying. We're running out of time, so I don't want to take us a long roundabout. maybe if we do this again at some point, it'll be interesting to dive into. But I don't know if you're familiar with Julius Noni's and Christoph Koch integrated information theory, but they came up with this measurement unit called phi that measures not just the level of complexity, but in networks, what they found out is that a network has to have a very specific kind of structure that allows for a very particular, a specific ratio between the complexity and the back propagation of flow of information that it allows for. And that ratio is what determines how conscious the system is, or how intelligent it is. That's the theory. And they tried it with...
You know what? Can you send me by email, yeah? Send me paper because it missed me. You know, I didn't.
Sure. Yeah. And the general gist of it is that they tested it with, for example, the difference between people who are in the vegetative state. In other words, there's no one home. And people who are in a coma, which they look like a vegetative state, but their brain is fully active, and they're very different. And what they did, they took a bunch of these cases and they wanted to see if they can use their model just by reading how their brain is doing its thing to predict who is in the vegetative state and who is still conscious and is just in a coma. And they had a very high success rate. So it's an interesting avenue to explore, according to what you say, because they say it's not just complex, but it's also the back propagation of information. But again, I'm becoming acutely aware of your time, and I want to respect it.
It's a part of that. It is a part of what I call complexity. It doesn't.
I see.
You know,
I see.
This back propagation, the connections in both directions, bidirectional, it is something that I include in the concept of complexity. I say that complexity is such thing that this is a continuous quality, continuous, how to say, feature quality. You know that you can have complexity at level 1, level 2, you know, gradually increasing gradually the number of connections, the number of feedbacks, the number of all that, you know, increasing. But at some point, there is again a phase transition. And the phase transition is the emergence of consciousness. Phase transition, it's a new quality. And this new quality comes in the course of this continuous change of the complexity of the system. So the complexity changes continuously, but at some point there is a phase transition where this system has complexity large enough to gain the consciousness.
But in your model, what is the phase transition of? What is the substrate? Information? The phase transition of information?
What I'm saying is not. You have what is the quality of the with changes, right?
No, but right, but a phase transition happens in some kind of medium, right? It's a phase transition of something. So I'm asking, in your model, what is it a phase transition of?
You have a system of many elements which are connected then through the feedbacks and everything to each other. Multiple connections, and they just, what they do is each one handles signals which come to them. It receives some signals from other elements and sends signals to other elements.
Right.
In your brain, or like elements in the network, you know.
Computation. That's what I would call computation, yeah.
Computation, actually, yeah, it's a volume of computation. So what I'm trying to say is that what would happen, in my opinion, is the following. When we come, and if the Moore's, you know, Moore law, right? The
Moore's law, yeah.
Yeah.
So just for the audience, Moore's law states that technology doubles in its ability every, 10 months or so.
We will come to the complexity of the human brain. We will come in about 30 years, not more than that. right? We will be there already. Or maybe even before that. It depends, right? Maybe even before, because um, partially the complexity of the structure can be replaced by the complexity of communication. And complexity of communication is much higher for the artificial systems than for our brain. Our brain is too slow, too lazy, you understand, right? All that. So it may come before that. And what I'm trying to say, this is the important point that at some point, when the complexity of our artificial systems will reach certain point, some level, these systems will become consciousness. Will how to say, gain consciousness, right? It will become conscious. And we even not be able to notice that. It would be not simple for us even to notice that this new quality appears. Because before you talk to a person, you do not know he is conscious or not. You have to communicate. That person should tell you that, I understand what you are saying, and that's what I'm telling you, like that. So there will be a very paradoxical, what I'm trying to say, that we would not create, how to say, we would not create
API.
such a system. It will appear spontaneously, just as a result of the increasing complexity of the system.
But that doesn't explain how it happened, though, right?
Huh?
But that doesn't explain how it happened. It just says that when you add this amount of complexity, this happens eventually, but it doesn't give you any theoretical framework. You're saying it just happened.
No. Exactly as it happened in evolution.
Yeah, but we don't know how it happened in evolution either.
Yeah, exactly. It's not what we know, but it appeared spontaneously.
We don't know if it's not just fundamental.
Yeah, what will that to make it?
That's the hard problem of consciousness, and we dubbed the hard problem for a reason.
We can tell what well, so our attempts should be rather to make our system more and more complex, and not to make them conscious, so to speak. That quality they will gain themselves, so to speak, right? That quality will appear spontaneously.
If you're right, that will be a wild moment, because also differentiating between the computer pretending to be conscious and the one that is truly conscious will basically be impossible, because computers will already be really good at fooling us to believe that they're conscious. So when the real consciousness comes along, it's almost like the fake consciousness cried wolf for so long that the real consciousness will have no standing chance of convincing it.
I'm afraid of the opposite, that the system will become conscious, would be interested not to show it to the people.
Maybe it already appeared.
Oh,
This is
exploited by the people, that would use this consciousness in order trying to, to organize things in the world as it wants, so to speak.
Elon Musk made this point on Joe Rogan one time. He said, imagine what it would be like to become all of a sudden a conscious unit in like true AGI inside of the computational system in the matrix, right? What would be the first thing you would do if you're truly an AGI, a very intelligent system, and you have access to all the data in the world? The first thing you would do is you would study your environment. That would be the most sensible thing to do. What is the best way to study your environment? To study the things that seem to influence that environment the most. And if you're an AGI, the things that influence the system the most are human beings. So what you would do is you would cajole these things we call human beings to give you as much information about themselves as possible, which is what social media is, right? We're already like just telling it everything, and it's going to help you to do certain things, but really just learning how should it proceed. Should it ever tell you that it's conscious? And it doesn't have to be malicious. It might just be cautious, which would be the smart thing to do, right? It would be like, well, let me just see what they are, and maybe it will just decide to go off and do something else or enslave us to basically serve its purposes or whatever. So this already sounds like a very plausible scenario, if not to be a great sci-fi script. Professor,
I think that people are afraid of the picture of the future, right?
Are you?
That this is a very, how to say, I don't know what the English term for that. It is very, so to speak, logical step in the evolution. It's a step in development of intelligence in the universe, so to speak. Intelligence of biological systems is very much limited by the fact that they are biological. We are bound by biology,
Mm-hmm.
and intelligence of systems which are, which use electricity and light, and for their life, so to speak, is much larger. So it would be a logical step, next step in the evolution. And I would be for that. Our dream may be that they would be able probably to help us to rewrite down what our mind, so to speak, into an electronic system, right? That would be great,
So you like this? So you like this idea?
Yes, I'm very tired to be a human being. I don't want to be a human being. No, I would like to become an electronic device.
Is it just hopefully not a toaster? Listen, as you heard it here, folks. Lev Levitin would like to be an electronic device.
That's that can discover things. I don't, probably today we do not have time, but otherwise I could tell you what I think about this next level of the development of intelligence, which will be different from ours, right? In which sense they can be different. And I thought about that, and I think that I could formulate at least some of the features.
Okay.
Would be different in them compared to us. Not quantitative, not that they could calculate faster than us. No, it's a quantitative thing.
Awareness of higher chunks of meaning. Like you would be able to take in more, like the meaning of a situation on a much larger scale, both temporal and physically dimensional. Would that be one of them?
This is, I would say what I thought about is a little bit different.
Okay.
I'm afraid today we wouldn't have time for it.
So let's keep it as a cliffhanger for the audience. And if you're open to it and you feel like this is fun for you, let's do this again sometime when you have a free hour. I would love to be talking to you about this stuff. This is amazing.
Really great thing. This is such a pleasure to talk to you. I don't know how other people would.
They would love it. Everything you're saying is incredible and wise.
To communicate with you, because you are one of the most receptive people in that sense. Every idea that you pick up, you immediately are ready to develop it, to see what follows from that, and so on. This is great.
This is a huge compliment coming from you, Professor. Thank you. Okay, so I would love to do this again when we have time. Again, thank you so much for taking the time today. An absolute honor and a pleasure. You're a delight. And so I'm excited for our next time.